consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission: to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
We got to all recognize the first step is being able to recognize these things. But if you recognize it, then talk to somebody, start asking. And yeah, there will probably be people who don't want to hear it. There will be people who don't understand the issue. You know, they won't understand why you're even bothering. Yeah, just get out of bed and go do something, right?
Right.
But there will be people who will be willing to try to help you.
Yes.
And that may be all you need.
Yep.
It's just somebody to say, hey, I'm here for you.
Absolutely. It's terrifying to put yourself out there. But I think after what happened to me, after losing my friend, the response of just starting a podcast, the response of starting a Facebook group was so encouraging to me, to where I know that there are people out there, there's probably family members out there who don't understand. Mm-hmm. But I know that, and something that I've noticed was that they still love me and they still care about you.
Imagine that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, or even like, you and I, we may not have met physically or in person, but there's still empathy there. Mm-hmm. The internet is a very amazing place.
Yeah. The podcast thing not everybody's going to want to start a podcast. And I understand that completely. But if one of the issues that you're dealing with is that you're really just not having much communication with other people, a podcast is a great tool.
Yeah.
And you don't even, it doesn't even necessarily have to go public. You could don't even call it a podcast. You could just start interviewing people.
Yeah.
Or just have conversations like we're doing here.
Right.
And record them or don't record them, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But there are plenty of people who would be willing and eager to talk to. Mm-hmm.
That's an incredible point. What? The podcasting has a whole different dimension of value there, right?
Yeah.
Humans are having conversations. Humans that didn't have any chance of making a contact with one another
Absolutely.
are having conversations across the pond sometimes, right? It could be anywhere.
Yep.
And we are having conversations. And who cares if some other humans will listen to it or not, right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
Primary, right?
We don't have a huge audience, and I don't care. Yeah. It would be nice, but I don't care. I get so much personally from doing this podcast. People come in and sit on the other side, and they present their perspectives on stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree, right? But if you're at least willing to listen, if you can have a conversation with somebody about I don't care what the topic is, mm-hmm. You're going to broaden your perspectives a little bit. You're going to see things in a little different light.
You also stop judging. One thing that I
don't know about that, but I'm still I'm trying not to judge you, man.
You grow some empathy.
Yeah, yeah. But you gain so much just by it's like traveling. You gain people don't understand why do I want to leave home? I was born and raised in this 2,000 person town. It's great. That's perfect. Why do I need to leave? It's because that your world is that big.
Right.
Right. And you are there's a whole another can of worms that this opens, but talking to other people is the same as leaving the country and going experiencing other countries. If for no other reason than you appreciate more what you've got here.
Yeah. Well, I've had interviews from women from Canada, from Australia, from China. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
How amazing. I would have never met these women. And let me tell you, you don't have to start, like you said, you don't have to start a podcast. But when I did, it was my biggest healing component out there. Do I still go through shit? Yes. And I think we always will, because that's life. But that was my biggest light at the end of the tunnel. So
yeah, for sure.
Talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're social animals, and we need the actual interaction, not just sort of reading and things and listening to recordings and all that stuff's great.
Yeah.
But it's not the same thing as having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
What is your opinion? I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Luis, actually, right? About this Facebook Live meetings.
Facebook Live? Oh, yeah.
Those live meetings.
I think they're awesome. I think it's a way to, especially if you have your own brand on Facebook, it's a way to show your audience who you are past text. You can't show emotions via text. And I think that's where we have all the problems in social media is that she said this. What does she mean by that?
Yeah.
Or he said this.
Well, people don't know how to write in the first place. So forget about trying to actually put nuance into what you're typing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that, and even on Facebook Live, you can have these 2 or one-on-one interview styles now that they've changed that. And then they also have, they're doing that on Instagram now too, where I think it's called like Instagram TV. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm tech savvy, but I'm not up to date all the time. But I think it shows emotion. It shows vulnerability. And it's scary going up there. Let me tell you, the amount of times I go on Facebook Live and you see that little number come up, 5 people are watching, 2 people, the anxiety. So just being able to do that helps you with your self-confidence. It's like going up to a stage.
And it's like the numbers go up and suddenly they go drop. And I was like, what have I said?
Yeah, exactly. I know what
you're on there for 5 minutes and nobody showed up. Where's my friends?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that. They'll probably watch it later because they're probably at work. But I think it's a wonderful tool.
Part of the conversation that we had about this with the guy we interviewed yesterday was that it's, in my opinion, it's if you don't have, you kind of have to have something to say. Otherwise, you turn the camera on and
hey, well, yeah, exactly.
So like I'm not driven to go talk to people.
Yeah.
Right. I love having conversations, but I don't have. There's nothing that goes on that makes me go, I really need to get out and broadcast this to the world. Yeah. I'm more likely to want to write some kind of a article about it. Yeah. But for certain people, it's a great tool. But if
you have something to say, I mean,
we were a little bit talking about marketing and whether or not it makes sense to worry about doing Facebook Live, and for some people, I think it doesn't make any sense.
But
it depends on who you are, though. Yeah. Like, sorry.
I know.
Oh, girl, let's jump in there.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
If your audience is on Facebook, be in Facebook. It bothers me when these brands have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Go where your people are. I only have Instagram and Facebook. I will not touch Twitter or Snapchat.
I know, right? I signed up for Twitter way back when it just came out, right? And I was like, well, that's another thing. We kind of we're getting tired, from this, right? Because it's just too much. And you're thinking, well, yet another thing came out. Who knew that it would be so big, right? I was like, well, it's a passing thing. It's just going to go away now. I'm probably going to save myself a lot of time not getting on it, right?
Right.
And so I didn't. And then it exploded. And you know what? I'm still not finding it my thing.
It's not
my platform. I don't know. Communicating in short texts and constantly being, I think they're constantly.
Gabi doesn't do short.
They're constantly following it. They have to follow. Basically, they need to interrupt like if I did it, I would have to interrupt my piece that I work, to get through meditation, through this, through that, and kind of expose it to all these people who could like momentarily break it for me. Right? Why would I want to do
That's a
that?
good point.
Well, it's running all day. It's like a CNN. It's like a stock ticker. It's just running all the time. And if you miss it, it's gone. So,
You're totally becoming like a puppet. Like you're completely just responding. To this. What else? From minute to minute, you're responding.
You can't take your eyes off of it either. If it matters to you, it's like suddenly you're stuck.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other conversation there too.
I think be where your people are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. I've seen people get themselves stuck in social media and yet they may not be getting the clients that they want. I say focus on those 5 people.
Yeah.
10 people. It doesn't have to. You don't have to have 2,000 likes.
Yeah, you want to be who you are.
Yep.
Also, and that goes to the Facebook Live. Do I do the lives or do I not do the lives?
Yeah.
If it's a natural thing for you to go out and if you're a chatterbox, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we're not, right, team? I don't think we could just blah blah blah. Like
we try. Other people may have a different opinion. Every word that comes out of our mouths is really valuable. Yeah.
Oh man.
So, what else did we want to talk about here? So, your foundation is 2 years old?
About 2, but we just got our 501c3 in April this year. We were able to get the funding thanks to my support and thanks to all of our people who supported us, thanks to my husband. We were able to pay all that. I was able to pay somebody to do that for me. And now we are tax deductible eligible. We're tax official? I don't know.
Yeah. So how did you, I understand, your friend died and then you went through your own postpartum issues. How, I don't know what I'm asking. What was the genesis? What was the idea? What did you first have in mind, maybe? Yeah. And then did that morph into this bigger thing, or did you immediately say, we need to do something for all these people?
Question. So it started out as a podcast, and I, one night I was just sitting there thinking, I want to do more. I want to do more for these moms. How can I prevent them from going down that route? What can I do? And for me, initially it was, well, let me make them meals. Let me, make them some casseroles or something and bring it to them after they have their babies. But then I said, no, I want to do more. I want to help her take a nap, help her take a shower if she wants. And so my vice president up in Connecticut, she said, yeah, that's a postpartum doula. So it's been around. Postpartum doulas have been around. It's just we are not educated on it. I wasn't. I wish I had one if I had known. But so that's how it started. It originally we were going to do like a sliding scale because we're moms and we also needed to pay a mortgage. And running a nonprofit is full-time work. But originally we were saying, because we all had our own businesses, I have my side business, which is the media stuff. I said, in that case, I've already taken care of financially. I want to donate my time. So we've decided that we will take on doula students who are looking for hours, maybe some volunteers who are looking for hours or who want to become a doula. They can volunteer their time and show up at the mom's house and just be there for her.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim. I would
okay. What I was going to ask is, how are you expanding this? Are you I can see teaming up with doctors, OBGYNs, and you may have to do some education for them so that they see the value of it, so that they would suggest to their patients, afterwards, this is a good idea. But that seems like a natural fit.
I think they'll be concerned to give such advice to doctors.
Oh, for sure. So our whole process is I have a meeting up with WIC. Are you guys familiar with WIC? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a meeting with them on Friday, and I will be presenting what Always With Me is, what we do, and how they can. The main thing is that if they're seeing signs from moms who are depressed or could be at risk, they will go online. And right now we're only accepting Las Vegas and then probably in Connecticut next. But they'll go online to alwayswithme.org/referrals, send me their information. And one of my big two questions is, does she have support at home? And is she showing signs of mental illness? And that's how I can determine, this woman needs it. And so my main target is clientele of WIC, the women who may not have the financial means to care for them and who are probably in poverty. So those are the type of people and those type of resources that I connect with.
Yeah, very logical, yeah.
So, you know what? One of the ideas that pops into my head off of that is a lot of women in those situations actually have a village around them. But, there's, so I could see some value or some opportunity in doing some group presentations where you could go into a neighborhood and have 10 or 15 or 30 or whatever, however many people decide to show up and have them, you educate them on what this is about and what to look for and how they can help each other.
Absolutely.
And that would be a terrific help, I would think.
Yeah, and I love that idea. Just kind of educating, because when you said some of these women already have support teams, and especially in that situation, I think of a certain ethnicity.
Yep.
Spanish, me, I'm Filipino, so Asians. See, the thing is that they don't, like in my culture, I'll speak for my culture, we don't talk about mental health. And that was where the luxury of a doula comes from, is because it's outside of your family. There is non-bias. There's no judgment. My mom, I love my mom, by the way, if she's listening to this, but she'll come in and be like, you should do this, you should do that. Whereas a doula will come in and be like, what do you want to do? Okay, let's do that. I'll teach you how to do that. So, and that's where...
Are they going through some kind of preparation, right, for this?
For doulas, yes. Actually, you do have certifications. I am certified. There are lots of different agencies out there that will educate you on how to be a doula.
Do you get to meet your doula before online, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
So locally, I've had 2 clients already here in Vegas, and locally, I like to meet them in person. I like to have them do a questionnaire of just their living situation. What kind of food do they like to eat? How many kids do you have? So we'll
do that. In your coordinating role, you do that, right?
Yes.
Before you even determine what would be a good fit, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I'm wondering if you're talking about 2 different things. All right. So what I'm hearing from you, Diana, is that when you're going to be the doula, this is what you like to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I think the original question that Gabi was asking is that a general policy, or is that a recommendation? It makes sense to be a recommendation.
I don't know if it is across the board, but I do know for me personally, I mean, if I was going to have a woman come to my house, I'd want to meet her in person before she comes to my house.
Or at least something like this.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That, that could be applied to not just mothers who are experiencing this, but to any person who is in need of human contact and support, frankly, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be already something working like this, right?
I'd love to see that.
I'm curious to find out.
I suspect that there are lots of little organizations all over the place that do, and I'm sure, somebody, but this again goes back, I guess, to the person with the issue has they're going to have to, unless they've got somebody to spot it and do something for them.
Exactly.
But otherwise, it's going to be on them to reach out, right? But if you go to a church, I live actually next door to a church. I have no affiliation, but I'm sure that if I had an issue and I wanted to walk over there and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody, there would be no problem. I'm sure they would be, come on in, let's sit down and talk. So churches are, just famously big as that kind of a resource. Yeah, there are going to be a lot more of those as far as, opportunity-wise. That would be a whole lot easier to find than an organization of some kind like yours or something else. But I agree. It's but so much of these, all of these topics, so much of it is just it's ignorance on the part of the public, and that's not a bad thing. It just is a thing. It just means that we don't know, and so education is a huge piece of the solution for the people trying to create a solution.
I would recommend watching, if anybody out there has Netflix, it's called When the Bough Breaks. I actually have the DVD as well. So this is what it's called, When the Bough Breaks, and it talks about postpartum depression. It's a beautiful, I actually know the producer, and it's a beautiful documentary.
Could you show it once more?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hold it up and say something so that the camera switches. No,
I see what you're saying. So it's called When the Bough Breaks, and it's available on Netflix. So I have this DVD. I bought the license myself so I can show it to my community here in Vegas. And then my gal in Connecticut has one too, but it's available to the world, and it's a very good documentary for anybody who just wants to be educated about this.
I'm sure there would be a lot of TED Talks also, right? On
this topic. There's been fathers who talked about their situation with either fathers have had postpartum depression as well. It may not be chemical, but it's certainly environmental.
So I understand that you haven't been doing this for all that long, but have you got some success stories that you can share with us?
Yeah.
Whether it's personal or other people in the organization?
Sure. So let's see. When I first started the podcast, I thought I was talking to myself, which a lot of us, podcasters couldn't understand. But I started getting emails from people in the community, from Facebook, and just people who saw my website in general. I started getting emails like, I found you on the internet. I found your podcast. Thank you so much. You basically have saved my life. That's a lot to take on.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting myself known in the community, so people are knowing who I am in Vegas. And Vegas it may seem big, but Vegas is a small town. And I get referrals, so there are different midwives or birthing centers that will call me and say, hey, I'm concerned about this mom. Can you take her on? So I've taken on 2 moms already. 2 were single moms, and they've said that I've helped in so many ways, just by talking or even just by making her a meal. And, and one mom was vegan, and I didn't know how to make vegan food, but I said, just tell me how.
Yeah, not a lot of vegan Filipinos out there.
No.
I've ever met anyway.
I love my pork. So.
You grew up here, or
yeah. I grew up, and I was actually born in California, LA area, and then I moved here to Vegas when I was about in 4th grade. So I grew up in Vegas, my home.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. There was something else that popped into my head, and just like that, it's gone again.
I could just comment on what you said, something about your mom, and I was thinking my mom should not be allowed to be.
Exactly.
No.
That's the point.
And Mom, if you're watching, I love you.
I love my mom, but all she wanted to do was to hold the baby, and I was like, I need a nap. I need someone to cook me a meal. So, but I do, yeah. And that's why I think that if maybe somebody outside of your family can come in and just be of you.
That's. I come back to this a lot in conversation, but there is a psychological thing. This is this program that we all have, that we have a problem seeing somebody who's in our inner circle, right? And we all have various circles, but the closer they are to us, friends or family, we have real problems seeing them in a different role as time goes on. And you
nailed it. I'm experiencing for the first time this phenomenon with my daughter, who I thought I was her best friend and protector and defender, and you could tell me anything, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm being perceived, and it's out of my control, as somebody who is a threat to her freedom and liberty.
Oh, yeah. How old is she?
She's 26.
So yeah, well, it's a little bit of it's a little different from what I was saying, but yeah, I welcome to the world the rest of us share, Gabi. But no, what I was saying is that, let's take a mother-son relationship, right? The son is always your son, you've got 2 daughters?
Yep.
Right? Okay, so let's go with you. And so you've got these 2 daughters, and you see them as these little kids, and eventually, obviously, they're going to grow up and go to school and do things, and they could go to college and get a PhD in psychiatry, pick anything. They're always just going to be, she'll still just be your daughter.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's just my daughter.
Exactly.
And she could be giving you the most profound advice in the world for years, and you're not going to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And then your neighbor says something, it's the same thing, and suddenly,
right.
And then you're going to go and tell your daughter what great information you got from your neighbor, who happened to move in, and
I've been telling you that for years.
Yeah, but there's this. It's a really strange dynamic that we have such a hard time, and so a long way around to a third party person, what you just said, not part of the family, somebody coming in from the outside. Not only is it somebody probably going to feel safer to talk to,
exactly,
but also if they have something to say, you listen more.
Yeah,
you value it more for some reason.
It's funny you mentioned that, because my husband says the same thing. So
I like your husband. He's a genius.
Thank you. I will tell him that. I will make sure he watches this. And, but he would give me this advice, and then of course I'm a person of the community, and I talk to a whole bunch of different women, and I'm like, Daniel, she said this, and he goes, I've been telling you that for years. So I see what you're saying.
That's how it works.
Yep, it's very interesting. And same with my father. He still sees me as that 18-year-old girl who's learning how to drive. 10 years ago, I am not that girl anymore.
I'm guessing he probably. I'm thinking he sees you as a much younger girl.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
But it works the other way. Also, you see what might happen is that the person who you ignore might have changed as well, right? And went through their level of sort of higher understanding of something, right? But still, the image that you created completely shuts them off from any messaging to you from a change perspective, right? But you're already done with them. You already labeled them.
Yep.
Right? And that's it. Nothing that comes from you could be valuable.
Yep. Yep.
So,
yep.
And what? I think that the way to handle this is just to be okay with it. I think I just stepped out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, that's fine.
Well, that's, I think what you're going through with your daughter, Gabi, is pretty normal stuff. And maybe it's coming later in life than it does for a lot of other people, but it sounds to me like teenage stuff. Kids become teenagers, and
she was a late bloomer in that.
Parents don't know anything. The 14-year-old knows everything.
Funny, funny, it happened. I still think that what my father says, I pay very close attention to. For some reason, I never entered that kind of dynamic with him. Right?
It's coming.
It is coming. Right?
Well,
He's just only getting wiser.
Someday you'll go through puberty and it'll happen.
It could be that I'm assuming your daughter grew up here in the States.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that could be it because I grew up in the States. My parents grew up my dad's from Vietnam and my mother's from the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So their way of thinking, their way of viewing other people is different than the way I see it.
Yeah.
So it could be a culture thing.
One thing that cultural shock, and I think that this postpartum depression might be a result from it. Yeah. We had, I walked the streets of suburbia in the U.S., and it's empty roads with lonely houses.
Yeah.
This has never been my experience in the places where I was growing up, right? Mm-hmm. We had and maybe this is the whole phenomenon with the online thing going on, right? That people now just don't have so much human contact.
Yeah.
But the people are lonely in this place, no? And that's what it comes from. Where's the human contact?
Yeah, you separate it. There's a fascinating documentary. It's actually about cars. Mm-hmm. But they talk about the effect that the automobile has had on society in this country. And in particular, after the Second World War ended, it used to be that cities were built, the neighborhoods were built where you had a front yard, and a lot of activity went on in the front yard, and everybody was outside in the front yard where you see your neighbors, and it's a much more social environment to start with. And cars just were, if you had a garage, it was in the back, and then you came to the front. Fast forward, when the suburbs came around, they started building it so that you just drove into your garage off the street, and there was no need for a front yard, really. And everything sort of moved to the back, and it was then you had fences and bushes and stuff, and you had your own little kingdom there. And all of this.
We were separating ourselves from others, right? For some reason, we thought that the solution was not to try to live together, but to avoid each other, right? And then maybe. Well,
I don't think it was done with that kind of an intention. It's just what happened.
Privacy. That's the intention, right? Intention was privacy.
I think it had to do with more of a focus on the automobile. This part of things.
Well, that's just one part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a what's interesting is that now, Tim, you're from California?
No, I'm from Chicago.
Are you in Chicago? No, wait. Where are you from?
I'm in California now.
Okay, there you go.
I'm never going to be a Californian. don't lump me in here with those people.
That's funny. But here in Vegas, our homes are now built closer to each other, and we don't have backyards. Or if we do, we have like a quarter inch of a backyard. Mm. So it's interesting that you mentioned that because now we're building each other closer, but yet we're not getting to know each other.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
Well, California is notorious for people never meeting their neighbors.
Oh yeah, same here.
I've been living 15 years in this spot. I talked to my neighbor one time.
Yeah, exactly.
In the city, it's different. Like in New York City, I lived in New York City like for 5 years. Woke up, in an apartment, like a shoebox apartment, and everybody knew everybody because you just can't survive without cooperating, right?
It's the same in Chicago, but we're talking about cities that are older cities, right? They're older, established. If somebody builds a brand new city now, it won't be built the same way. And it's one of the things that I miss about Chicago. And New York is going to be the same thing, I'm sure. Outside of Manhattan, where you got the neighborhoods, the older, more established neighborhoods. I've never been, but I would bet real money that they're the same as in Chicago. It's trees, it's nature, and you'll see kids running around, right? Mm-hmm. We played on the streets all day on the weekends. We were outside. Yeah. And of course, a computer didn't exist, but
Well, it's hard to be outside in 100-degree weather, so.
Yeah, that's true.
We're like 113 over here.
Yeah.
So,
If you don't on purpose go and search for human contact, I
Yeah.
mean, you're gonna be in a bad place pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm so thankful to the Meetup idea.
Mm.
Frankly, I thought it was ingenious. It was just what we needed. You know, don't you think? I mean, we could come to, now. I'm thinking in September I'm gonna go sign up for many more Meetups. Actually,
you're talking about meetup.com?
yeah.
I love that. I've done that before,
Yeah.
too. That's how I met.
Gabi was a mess prior to Meetup. It was,
He's a whole new man.
yes. I don't even know him anymore.
You know, I mean, what kind? Look, you know, you go out to a grocery store, and there's a lot of customer service and all those plastic smiles, right? And genuine human contact, and you know, after a while, you just think, oh, I can't take it anymore. I need a real human contact.
Yes. You need vulnerability.
Yes, exactly. I need to speak to people, right? And with people and listen and drink together and do a bunch of other fun things together. So, and travel together.
That's why we're friends, the drinking part.
You know? Yeah. You know, and that I think that the community compensates now, and it's great to see for this separation, right?
Yeah.
So now you can't stop us. We still come. We are social beings, and we still find ways of communication.
Absolutely.
It has to happen. It's part of our
unnatural.
wiring
It's
is
unnatural.
we have to have the interaction with actual people.
This is therapy. This is what.
And that's why your doula thing is important, right? And that's why it works,
Absolutely.
I think, is because of, I can really see, especially if you get somebody who moves from Chicago to California, and we've got some friends, so Aki and David, right? We have some friends who came from Iran, and I don't know how long they've been here, but it's not very long, and they were feeling really, really isolated, and they got into this group that we're in, and you know,
we had a
wife
baby.
in particular is a different person now.
In our group, we had a baby. You know, we had a whole
They had the baby.
shower. It was amazing.
I had nothing to do with the baby. Just saying right now.
I want to feel that I'm now tied to the destiny of this child. I want to be there. I want to be like
He's
an
Uncle Gabi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's interesting to actually be able to see somebody's psychological change just from being a part of a little community.
Yeah.
And it has to be a regular gathering, whatever, you have to have that interaction on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And this is an Abraham Hicks meetup, so we're talking about mindset stuff, and that's an extra piece. But just the social aspect of it, I think, is enough for a lot of people.
That, by the way, what you're doing, Diana, that could be a meetup too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like
I hope
get this mom.
someday I hope to do like a speech or like an inspirational meetup speech kind of.
Oh, like moms who really were helped by what you guys are doing could be members of this, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
and they bring their babies and just the community building could happen around this,
Yep.
Absolutely.
Play days could happen. My son is planning for his birthday in about 12 days at July 29th. And so, we were thinking, okay, we want to to invite people to have a little party here for kids, right? And so I'm telling him, the first impulse was for my wife to send out the invitations to moms, right? So let's agree to meet or whatever. But then we talked about that, and we said, no, let him do it. And let him contact his friends, his kids. Now everybody's got a phone, right? So text your friends and have their moms be informed that, you're invited. And
that
so now he's texting them.
Oh, I love that.
So they're arranging it. We're just saying that's the time. And, Go ahead. Let's do it.
Cool.
Well, I like the idea that it's the people he wants to have
You want.
at the party. So many people. It's like, oh, it's even as adults, right? Oh, it's my husband's birthday. I'm going to invite all my friends.
Exactly.
It becomes a party for the wife,
Mhm.
and the poor guy who's having the birthday is over here, you know,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
corner
with the husbands.
eating his piece of cake, you know.
You know what? When he is contacting his friends, it's hard to turn down. He's so genuine. It's like, I'm having a birthday. You know, say my friend Connor, right? They're YouTubing together, right? So hey, man, I'm having a birthday. I hope you could come. And he's not taking a no for an answer. You know?
You're coming, right?
Yes.
You are coming.
I'm having a birthday, and you're going to be here at 2.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
So,
All right. I'm kind of feeling like we're at the end here. Diana, do you have anything that you want to bring up that we haven't touched on that you kind of feel like you really want to talk about?
This was awesome, and I think my takeaway for everybody is to just be comfortable with being vulnerable and sharing your story and just talking to people. You know, you never know, and the internet's amazing, and that's what I love about it is you never know. Somebody out there in the world is going through the exact same shit that you are. So.
See, I like how you dragged that out. Shit.
That's just me.
Yeah, but I want to. That's a good point. I want to elaborate a little bit and just say that we all have our own shit, right? We've all got our own baggage. We all have our own things that we go through, and so you're not unique in that aspect. So nobody should be embarrassed to say, "Hey, I need help."
Yep, absolutely.
That's all.
Cool.
All right, so let's give your contact information. Anything you want to give out? Yeah.
Well, you can always find me at alwayswithme.org, and you'll find our Facebook page, our mom group, and even if you just want to contact me, you can find me on that website. So, and our podcast is on there too.
And Diana, if you ever want to expand into other areas, think of us as your contacts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I love it.
Especially Gabi. He needs more work. He needs more things to do.
He needs more work.
Papa Doula.
Papa Doula. I love it.
Yeah.
That's your Greek name.
Yeah,
Papa
this
Doula.
is our division, right? Our division. It's only available at this location.
Will not travel.
Oh, for the right money, I'll go anywhere.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Diana, thank you for being here. This was, I think, a valuable conversation, which is what we're aiming for.
Yep.
And I don't always say that, but
Thanks.
that's an important topic, I think, for us to talk about and to share with people. So,
Best of luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
okay. Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around.